Welcome to the People Connect podcast. Your network is your net worth. Are you ready to take your life to the next level? Be prepared to leap out of your comfort zone and connect with the who's who of what you want to do. Stop, drop, and roll as we start, market, and grow the CEO of you and your host, Nichelle Womack. She will help you engage, reinvent, motivate, and reactivate your plans for success.
Hey everybody, and welcome to the People Connect podcast. I am your host, Nichelle Womack. Thanks for being here. Thanks for sharing the podcast with your friends and your family and all of those startup entrepreneurs that are interested in getting their hustle on, their groove on, and building and making an impact in their community and also putting some dollars and some coins in your pocket. I am the Startup CEO, helping you to start a profitable business from your kitchen table while you're still working your 9 to 5. You can learn more about me and what I do to help you by going to 2excelwithnichelle.com. Again, that's 2excelwithnichelle.com. And you can see all the goodies, the freebies, and everything that you need that I can do to help you be a better you in your business and in your life. I am a certified life strategist and business strategist, and I come prepared with you with a BA in business and an MBA in business, and I am a dissertation away. Hey, pray for me now. Pray for me from my PhD. If I could just sit my tail down and just start writing, look, where would I be? Where would I be? Well, my plans and my intentions are to be complete with that goal at the end of this year. If you don't set goals, you will never attain them. If you don't set goals, you will never be able to say you've done anything. What kind of goals do you have set up in your life? What do you do on a regular basis to keep up with those goals? Well, that's another podcast. Today, we are going to talk about, is being a landlord right for you? We're going to talk about the good, the bad, the ugly of owning rental property. Now, if you've been with me for quite some time, you know that I am an avid investor in real estate. Been in the business of real estate for about 25 years. In fact, it was the first business that I started after I graduated from college. And it wasn't by choice. I got into real estate because I lost my six-figure job. And if you have ever made six figures, or if you know someone that does, or even if you dream about making six figures, when you lose six figures, listen to me. Your life changes. Yes, Lord, my life changed completely. And I'm like, what can I do to make equivalent of what I was making? And real estate kind of like fell into my lap. I kind of knew some people that did it, and I kind of read people that were involved in real estate, mostly looking at billionaires. Now, I have not gotten to the billionaire status in my involvement of real estate because I've lost and I've gained. I've lost and I've gained. I've succeeded and I failed. And I found my way back each and every time. This is not a get-rich-quick scheme. So I want to make you aware of that. A lot of people think they can get involved in business and that it's going to be a get-rich-quick scheme. Somebody lied to you if you believe that and they told you that was true. Because anything that you do in life that involves success, it's going to require work from you. It's not a get-rich-quick scheme. It's going to take some time for you to understand the business, get to know the business, and literally gain ground in it. It's so much competition out here for becoming a real estate investor, but don't let that stop you, because if you let competition stop you, you will never get started, nor will you ever achieve success. So I always say to my clients when I'm working with them, no matter if it's business coaching, if it's life coaching or whatever, dealing with real estate, whatever, I tell them go into it with a mindset of what it is that you want to do. What do you want to achieve? What are your goals, your objectives, as I spoke of earlier? And you work it for you, not what anyone else is doing, but you run your own race and you stay in your own lane and you get better at it each and every day. And then when you feel that you're ready to jump to another lane, do that. Don't let anything stop you. So as a landlord, you are literally managing your own business. Yes, you are the boss. And as the business owner, you get to decide on how you run this real estate business, whether it's the cost, who you work with, terms of any contract, and even when you want to buy property and sell property. Today's broadcast is brought to you by Motor Club of America. If you're not familiar with it, I'm going to encourage you to stop by at theroadsidebuddy.com. Again, that's theroadsidebuddy.com. And you can learn more about this business opportunity as well as an opportunity to get you some roadside assistance, because everybody needs some type of assistance. Unlimited towing, that's what Motor Club of America offers. And then it also gives you the opportunity to earn income if you refer the services. How easy is that? Affiliate marketing, business have been doing it for quite some time. So go check it out at theroadsidebuddy.com. So if you have ever thought about owning a rental property and becoming a landlord, right now, I promise you, is a good time to do it. You likely have a few questions, and I'm going to hopefully address these questions for you and with you in this broadcast. If not, feel free to send me an email at info@2excelwithnichelle.com or go on Instagram and DM me at Nichelle Womack, and we can talk further about it. So what's in store for you? Maybe a question that you ask yourself if you're thinking about becoming a landlord. How easy is it to be a landlord? And what problems are you going to face? And then the big question is it really profitable as a business model? Well, to answer the first question, what's in store for you? It literally just depends on you. And as I go back to it again, your goals, your objectives, what is it that you want to do? Why are you getting involved in real estate? How easy is it to be a landlord? It's not easy at all. It's not easy at all. And I'll share with you some good and the bad throughout the rest of the broadcast. It's not easy, but anything worth having is not easy. Go into it with a positive mindset, with the idea and the goal of what it is that you want to do as a landlord. Remember, you are the business owner. What problems are you going to face? Hopefully not many, but realistically, probably a lot. Is it a profitable business model? Yes, it is. If you look at some of the wealthiest people in America, majority of them have real estate under their belt, under their arm. If they don't do it full time, they still have property that they own, that they've invested in. It's a very viable, profitable business model. And if done correctly, you can profit as well. I don't go into any business transaction if I'm not going to profit. And, it's a little bit more in detail, and I'll share this with you another time. But when you're looking at real estate being a business profitable model, there's so many facets that are included with that we really just don't have time on this broadcast to go over that. But I do offer classes, so you can feel free to jump in one of those classes and I can share with you some of the caveats of making it a profitable business model. Some of my favorite quotes about real estate is one from Will Rogers, and he says, "Don't wait to buy real estate and wait." Now, when I read that quote and when I read it and I read it over and over again, the more you wait, the market goes up. The more you wait, that property is gone. You like it, somebody else loved it. And I always tell my clients, if you like it, you better put a piece of paper on it, a contract, and tie it up, because otherwise somebody else is going to come in and feel the same way that you did. Most people lose out on investments, especially real estate, because they wait. They wait. Buy real estate and wait. Don't wait to buy real estate. Will Rogers said that. So let's take a look at some of the good, the bad, the pros and cons of owning rental property. And I hopefully will answer just some basic questions that you may have. Let's talk about the good of being a landlord. Number one, you own the property. It's an asset. We know assets bring in dividends, and this asset can be sold, it can be borrowed on, and essentially it increases your net worth. What is your current net worth? Hopefully, if you don't own a home, you're thinking about buying one, because I don't care what the market says. This year they were talking about 2018. This is the worst year to own property. Check out to see if any of these millionaires are getting rid of their property. No. Check out to see if they're renting. No. They may rent when they go live in another town or whatnot, but they do own. So it's always a good opportunity to own something if you're financially capable of doing it. Now, I've been in business 25 years in real estate, been a licensed broker for 17 years. And I will tell you one thing in particular. I don't think everybody needs to own a home because everybody is not financially ready to do it. And owning a home is a financial responsibility. Owning an investment is a financial responsibility. So you need to make sure that you're ready to do that before you jump in that leap of faith and do it, because it can be very costly. And as I mentioned, it increases, real estate increases your net worth. Pardon me. And so the next thing we're going to talk about, the good of being a landlord, is the income. Now, on your job, you probably get an income. I hope you do. Anyway, when you get real estate, it's an additional stream of income. It's a consistent income. Why? Because people have to pay their rent. You got to pay the mortgage if you don't own it free and clear, but they have to pay the rent. And so that's going to be consistent income that comes in on a regular basis that you can add that to your net worth. Rental properties generally offer consistent income. You shouldn't just be breaking even. If you are, that wasn't a good investment. So depending on the property and its location, that's one thing that we talk about in real estate all the time. Location, location, location. The income will vary depending on the location. And it's essentially passive income. And if you are not receiving passive income in your life, then you are missing out on a lot. See, this is the difference between a broke mindset and a wealthy mindset. A wealthy mindset knows that they must consistently have passive income to stay wealthy. A broke mindset is consistently looking for the next job or the next opportunity that they can get to keep the income that they currently have. A wealthy mindset is looking to increase. A broke mindset is looking to just maintain. When you have real estate, you have a wealth mindset. You may be required to maintain the home. Monthly rental payments are generally cover the labor and more. It just depends. I've sold houses to people that perhaps maybe two families, that's like two houses connected to one house itself, and they rent the other side out and they live in one side. So literally they have the other person paying their rent. How cool is that? How cool is that? Someone else is paying your rent. And that's typically what happens when you are a landlord. Homes tend to increase in value. And what this means is that when you own the property, it will appreciate and become more valuable. That's the intention. That's the hope. But then I go back to the fact, location, location, location. Before you buy a piece of property, make sure that the location that you're buying it in is an up and coming area. Make sure that you are aware of that, because that literally can help make or break you in the business of being a landlord and in the business of real estate. It's not guaranteed. Nothing in life is guaranteed. But as the property increases, you can increase your rent depending on your goals for the property and your tenants. And eventually, if you decide, you can sell it. There are definite tax advantages to owning rental properties. And I always recommend to my clients, before you get ready to buy something, make sure you put the numbers on paper. And in some of my classes, I teach that, how you can know if it's going to be a good investment for you. And I always tell you some people that you need to have on your team. And that's number one, someone that's really good at taxes. I prefer a CPA, certified public accountant. But if you're good, if you know somebody that's good, get somebody that understands the tax advantages, especially when it comes to real estate. Your rental income may be affected by tax-free, and if you do not receive a net cash flow after expenses are deducted, then that can affect that as well. So keep that in mind about the tax advantages. I think being a homeowner, you get tax advantages. Being an investor, you get tax advantages as well. There are just so many opportunities for increase of income with the fact of owning real estate. And then you can also, if you're ever short on money, need the house, get it fixed up or something, you can refinance on your loan if interest rates fall and your property appreciates. And that's where I was telling you, it's like a bank. Your house is a bank. Investment property is a bank. You got money sitting at your disposal. It's not necessarily a liquid asset. In some capacity it is. You can't necessarily go pick it up and walk away with it. You have to refinance or sell it or increase the rents or things of that nature. But it's more liquid than having an investment, and it fluctuates and you having to take your money out from that aspect. It's just another tool to add to your investment portfolio. That's how I like to look at it. Real estate is just another tool to add to your investment portfolio. And so when you refinance and the property appreciates, of course, that is tax-free. And again, get you a good tax accountant, CPA, or somebody to help you with that process. If you sell the property, reinvest in another, those profits can be tax-free as well. It's called a tax-free exchange. So if you're not familiar with that term, look it up. It is very advantageous to an investor, especially if you're thinking about selling and reinvesting in up-leveling to more properties or to a bigger property. Tax-free exchange. You also have the satisfaction of working for yourself if you own several properties. When I first bought my first property, and initially I owned over 100 properties at one time, and I started too fast. And I really didn't understand when I first started. I was just out there just buying property, and really risking a lot with my personal finances. So there are some tips and some strategies that I share. Most of it is in my classes that I offer, but I always tell people, when you're out there buying property, look for leverage. And when you look for leverage, you reduce the stress that you have on your own personal finances. Look for leverage. The satisfaction of owning several properties is kind of like a full-time job, and it generally doesn't require full-time hours. As I mentioned, I owned 100 properties. I eventually ended up getting a property management company. Even though I was in the business of real estate, I owned a real estate company. It was still kind of hard managing your own properties. I was managing other people's properties and doing real estate, and I really just did not have time for my own. So I got a management company, and I started having to pay them. And some of the properties that I had just did not pan out for investment purposes. So that's another thing, as I mentioned to you, make sure location, that you get something that's going to be viable, that when the market grows, your pockets grow as well. And this can be a huge advantage, being a landlord working part-time. While you're consistently getting a stream of income in, you could be working another job or working a full-time job or doing some other type of business. It is probably the most freedom part of entrepreneurship that I can think of. You don't have to be necessarily present in order to be a landlord. So those are some of the good things, and there are tons more, but that is that in a nutshell. Let's talk about the bad parts of being a landlord. Now, I don't have a lot of things bad to say about being a landlord, but there are some. As with anything in life, there's good and bad, and any business has good and bad as well. The bad thing, I would think, is that properties don't always increase, and you may end up breaking even. That's not good. It's good that you're not losing money, but breaking even, who wants to break even? You want to profit in any business that you do. And so that's why I go back to my point again. Location. When the market changes, business changes. And that's kind of what happened to me. After having some of those 100 properties, I end up letting a lot go. I had to let a lot go for multiple reasons, because the market changed. At some point, I didn't have tenants in some of them, which caused me to, if I had a mortgage on them, I was the one responsible for that. Now, I truly believe in paying for real estate in cash, but majority of the time you don't have that leverage to do that. And if you don't, try to buy low. I'm telling you, that's if nothing else you retain from this message, buy low, sell high. I know you've heard that in real estate before. And it's so key to do that for the simple fact, if your properties are just breaking even, then the only advantage you have is the tax advantage. But I'm sure you're going to get involved in this because you want to make some income. And literally, you can make some great income in real estate. Rental property requires you to have some money sitting on the side. I can't tell you how many times I'm working with investors and I'm like, okay, do you have a cash pot of like $5,000? Because you're going to need that, especially if you're buying a property that you're going in and rehabbing, or if something happens to it. It's always good to have money on the side for any business, especially real estate, because things happen when you own property. There's also a problem finding tenants, and that's one of the bad parts of being a landlord. When I got my first properties about 25 years ago, I'm a very stickler person when it comes to renting, because I want to make sure, and there are laws that you have to abide in, because you cannot discriminate, of course, but you want to make sure that you get good tenants, because if you get a bad tenant, that can cost you more money, and you can end up losing money versus making money. And then finding tenants to live in the areas of the houses that you get. Now, I personally like single family homes. I work with some investors. They like multifamilies for the simple reason they get more income, but those require more work. And not only that, if something happens to something in the unit, it's going to cost you more to get it repaired. And so think about that. What type of investor are you going to be? Are you going to, deal with single family, multifamily? Those are single family, a little bit more easier to rent than a multifamily. And then I have investors that deal with commercial as well. Now, those are the big kahunas that's dealing with commercial. Most of my small investors, they start off with single family homes. And so most of the time, it's not hard to find a tenant because a lot of people want homes. A lot of people don't like living in apartment style or two families and things of that nature. But yet you do get some that like that. So think about that. One of the bad parts of being a landlord, problem tenants, and then finding tenants to live in the properties, good tenants. It's very time consuming being a landlord if you don't have a business plan, how you're going to run and structure your business. So I recommend that as well. Some of the bad things about being a landlord is that legal issues may arise with tenants. And let me go back to this point. Time consuming comes in when you have those problem tenants and then when you're trying to find tenants. And that's where a property management company could come in handy for you, because if you're doing other things, you don't have time to do that. And you can get a property management company to come in to help you with the problematic tenants as well as finding tenants. And that can kind of take away some of the time. The legal issues that may arise with tenants, I personally haven't had any, but I know of investors that have had some, perhaps maybe when it snows, if you're in a high climate area and they didn't clean the steps off and a tenant went out and fell. Okay, this is a serious issue. The repercussions beyond that, always keep you and an attorney on speed dial. Always keep an attorney on speed dial. That's what I recommend to every new investor that I come in contact with, because you never know what may happen with the tenant. I had one a while ago. They bought a property. The tenant ended up having lead poisoning. So, when you're buying older homes, those are things that you need to pay attention to as well. And that wasn't a good thing because the tenant ended up suing the landlord and winning because of the lead-based paint. So I recommend whenever you go into a property, make sure you paint it and get rid of whatever, because especially if it's old, you don't know what's in there. And you want to make sure it's fresh and clean when you get new tenants in there. There can be a lot of paperwork that you have to deal with. And I recommend that you keep everything in order. Keep everything in order. And this is twofold. Number one, you want to make sure you get all your tax advantages. That's number one. And then number two, you want to make sure that you're compliant with the IRS. One thing that you never want to do is get audited. And you want to make certain that you keep your stuff in order so that you can benefit in the long run and in the short term. The ugly about being a landlord is not knowing what you're doing. Being that I've been in for 25 years and I teach real estate, investing and things of that nature, going into something not knowing what you're doing, blindfolded, basically really can cost you some money in the long run. And I recommend that you read as many books as you can, take as many courses as you can. Some people always ask me, well, I think I'm going to go be a real estate agent. You don't necessarily have to be a real estate agent in order to invest in property. In fact, you get off better if you're not an agent, because being an agent, you got to disclose that you're an agent. You can't necessarily always buy property. You can't buy any property without disclosing that, because you have to make them aware. But the banks and investors and things of that nature, they look at people that are not in the business more of a client than they do someone that's already in the business, if that makes any sense to you. But also a lack of support. You want to make sure that you got a good team, a good tribe to help you in this process, especially if you're in and out of town. And that's why I spoke of earlier about getting a property management company, because if you go out of town, they can handle all that. If you don't have that and you manage your own property by yourself, that can be very time consuming and cost money in the long run, especially if you're not expeditious in taking care of the things that need to be taken care of right away. And buying in the area, that's another ugly part about being a landlord. If you buy in the area and it doesn't hold its value, that kind of speaks to the point that I made earlier. Location, and buying in a good, solid area to help you keep and retain that value. Now, nothing's guaranteed, because, things can happen in neighborhoods that bring it down. But it's always good to do drive-bys in areas to make sure that you go through at nighttime and daytime, so you can get a good sense of what's going on in that neighborhood before you buy. Look at market fluctuations as your friend rather than your enemy. Profit from folly rather than participate in it. Warren Buffett said that. And real estate cannot be lost or stolen, nor can it be carried away. Purchased with common sense, paid for in full, and managed with reasonable care is about the safest investment in the world. Franklin D. Roosevelt. So if you'd like to learn more about real estate investing and how you can profit from it in 2018, check out my class that I offer. It is an online class, and I offer it typically once a month. I think the next class is sometime in March. I want to say March 10th or March 20th, somewhere around there. But you can go to bit.ly/real estate class 17. Again, that's bit.ly/real estate class 17. And you can sign up there. I go into a lot of specifics talking about the types of investments that you can buy, what it's like being a real estate investor, where you can get money to buy property, and so many other things, what's required, why real estate is an excellent investment strategy, what it takes to get involved and profit, ways to get money to invest, the people you should have on your team, and creative ways to buy investment property and profit. And then we do a live Q&A plus more. So if you are interested in that, again, go to bit.ly/real estate class 17. I hope this broadcast has been beneficial for you, especially if you're thinking about real estate and it's something that you've been thinking about doing. Now is the time. There's never a bad time with real estate. I wouldn't say all times are good, because depending on what area or market you're in, it can be very, again, as I mentioned, competitive. And not only competitive, you got to get those good deals. Buy low, sell high. So I am Nichelle with 2Excel with Nichelle.com. I am your startup CEO, helping you to start a profitable business from your kitchen table while you're still working your 9 to 5. I thank you for being a part of my space. I thank you for subscribing to the People Connect podcast, whether you're catching me live or whether you are on a replay. I greatly, greatly appreciate it. Don't forget to share this broadcast and the podcast with others. Sharing is caring. Until next time, I will speak with you then. Blessings and peace unto you, and may everything you touch turn to gold. Bye-bye.